You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 60 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning. Welcome into the Tuesday edition of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904 is the phone number if you want to join the show with us this morning. The X accounts at Locker Room 109 at Barry Sanderson and at Wimp Sanderson 1. The email address for the show is wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. Feel free to send us an email anytime you want during the show or even anytime during the day. We'll get back to you on that. We want to thank Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. If it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. Go to yellowwood.com to find a dealer that is closest to you. Build the 5-star backyard, the fence, or the pergola is only one choice, and that would be Yellowwood. Once again, 205-342-9904. Kevin Skarbinsky will join us at the bottom of the hour. Alabama took on Memphis last night in a foul fest. 96 free throws last night. It was brutal. It was a very physical game that Memphis is they got just about a whole new team, but they're very athletic, but they're very undisciplined. They foul a lot. Alabama fouled a lot too. Amari had 7. They decided, I think, during the game to not let anyone foul out. Had several guys with 7 fouls during the game. Anyway, I say all that we will talk to Mike Davis. Mike is a new assistant at Memphis. He was on the bench last night, so we'll get a chance to visit with Mike. We can talk more about that game later on this hour. Good morning, Chase. How are you this morning? Good morning, Dad. How are you?
I'm fine. Last night, the Dodgers went 3-up. Freddie hit his, I think his third home run. He's hit a home run in every game. 3-zip, just a matter of time before they become the world champions. Next, they've got to win one more to end that, and they'll do that, I'm sure. A great win for the Dodgers. They just have played really, really well, both in pitching as well as Freddie hitting his home runs. Steelers beat the Giants. The Giants just can't score enough to really. The quarterback from Duke, who everybody thought was too. I don't know. They're not good enough. Ted Roof. Ted was at Vanderbilt at one time. He'd been around a lot of blocks. Was the defensive coordinator for Gus Malzahn at Central Florida. He got let out yesterday. They fired him. And the coaches are beginning to let people go on their staff more than ever before. It seems like it's just the thing to do, and they had not, done real well. So that's kind of the end of Ted. For you people who don't know anything about when I was coaching or whatever, Mike Davis played for me. Is a very, very good player, very good defensive player. He's one of the few guys that you will find that would play hard every play. He played hard offensive and defensive ends. He played hard all the time. He was a hard recruit. I had to fight Auburn to get him, and I got him, and I had him. I think CM had him 1 year, and I had him 3 or whatever. Can't remember, but he was a terrific player, and he's a guy who really I should have found out about the game last night. I didn't get to it till real late. There wasn't much to it, so I should have called Barry to find out where it was, and I didn't do it. So he'll be on, talk about whatever he wants to talk about. It doesn't make any difference. So Alabama had a bad defensive second half. I thought part I saw first half, I guess, was okay. They're loaded with players, and LeBron is very good. Phelan, I guess it's the way you pronounce it. I'm not sure. I think that's what my pronouncer said. So that's all I got.
Yeah, Alabama last night had 4 players out. So, I mean, I don't know if I'd have been playing Sears as much. He played over, I think, 30 minutes in the game. But it was a physical. I mean, I guess maybe that game can get you. And Memphis will win some games. They just can't make free throws. I think they were 27 for 48 or something like that from the foul line, 28 for 48, something like that, 46, whatever. But, they gave up. Alabama gave up, I think, 58 points to say that. But, I mean, a lot of it was free throws. The clock wasn't running because of fouls, the officiating, because they probably had to call it that way. Alabama was fouling. Memphis was fouling more than Alabama. I was worried somebody would get hurt in that game.
It hurts fans when you don't really know a lot about basketball and you're trying to like it. And Alabama's so good, and everybody's all excited about it. But to watch games like that, people don't really understand it. It makes it difficult, though. Yeah,
it was a long game because of all the whistles and. But the kid, you're right, Phelan, he was an Alabama kid, down in Baker High School down in Mobile, transferred his senior year to Link Academy. I think that's out in Missouri. He had committed to Kansas, had signed with Kansas, and then at the last second, ended up getting out. He may end up being the best freshman Alabama has. The Reed kid, good player. Sherrill did not play. Looks like maybe that Nas kid, he didn't play very much, 6 minutes, I think. So that might be a guy that coach is talking about, maybe red shirt. I
think one of those kids at Alabama, he transferred to Kansas, and I think that stirred it up. The guy that was going to Kansas ended up going to Alabama.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened.
Yeah, the kid from Texas went to Kansas. Holloway wasn't as good as he was the first game. The Mari kid is very, very good. The kid from Rutgers, but he's got to stop fouling. Now Memphis has some big old dudes. I mean, they are big and athletic and physical and play wild. So it was not an entertaining game to watch unless you like to watch free throws, but it wasn't your typical exhibition game. So Alabama will get started for real against UNC Asheville, but they better give Mark Sears about 3 days off. That was a bloodbath last night that they played there. Yeah, this going what you mentioned in the World Series. Like normally, you want the World Series to be exciting. The Dodgers pitching has just dominated the Yankees here in the first 3 games. Can the Yankees even get a game, Dad? They need to get one.
Yeah, they get one. Maybe they may not get one. They go 4-0, maybe 5-1. But 4-1. Right now it's 3-0. You just kind of sit back and the last thing in the world if you're a Dodger fan is that you want to certainly wouldn't want to get swept by the Yankees. And the thing about the Yankees manager is. I'm not sure what the manager of the Yankees played. Either he or his dad played third base for my Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, 4-2 last night. Tonight, they'll go at it again. I'm trying to see if they've listed the pitchers yet for tonight. Seeing who. So, Buehler, Walker Buehler, and Schmidt will throw for the Yankees. So we'll see if they. No, that was last night. Tonight, the Dodgers have not decided, and Gill will throw for the Yankees, and the Dodgers plus 125 tonight in the game. So obviously, the Yankees a little bit. The Dodgers plus 125. So the Yankees are a slight favorite tonight. I don't think they think it'll be a sweep.
The one thing about this, I'm always talking about mental as the physical. it doesn't quite apply in baseball, except for the pitcher and the catcher. Those two have to be on the same page with the manager. Outside the mental and the physical, you outfielders out there, they're not out there goofing off for the World Series. They're ready to play. So right now, they're pretty close. Dodgers are the best team. Freddie's hit the most home runs, and it's going to be over soon.
Yeah, I'm flipping back and forth. Nate Oates, quoting from last night's game, he's right about this. I think it was really beneficial to play a team like that. We're going to play Houston. We're going to play Tennessee yet. We didn't handle their physicality well. We're going to have to improve in that area before we play those teams. They need to get Reitzel back. They need to get Grant Nelson back. We'll see about Sherrill. Youngblood sounds like he's out, and maybe till towards the end of December. And so they're going to, when they get all those guys back, and I think three of those will be back for UNC Asheville, then be very interested to see how they distribute those minutes with all those guys. So anyway, Sears played well. I think it was a good crowd up there. Sloppy game, but I think Memphis had a lot to do with that.
Back to the football, we got a lot of trying to find the blue plates. Not easy. We don't have a great week of football. We have some good games. Penn State is going to be a good game, and I think Pittsburgh's got a good game. We'll see what Ohio State plays Penn State.
Yeah, I'm interested. My game is the Gamecocks taking on the
I'm scared
Aggies.
of that. I'm scared of that.
Oh, no, I'm not saying pick as a blue plate. That's the one I'm interested in. I'm interested in Vanderbilt going to Auburn just to kind of see what happens. Can Vanderbilt keep plugging away, or does Auburn, do they find something there that maybe will make them, win here down the stretch here to maybe try to get bowl eligible? All right, we'll take the break here. Open up the phone lines, 205-342-9904. I think since we've been on the air, Chase, Memphis committed 5 more fouls since we've been on. 2-minute truck. They're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to make this a smooth move. Whether it's local, out of town, out of state, no problem. Let the professionals handle it. They'll take great care of you and your stuff, as always. 205-247-5050. 2 men in a truck. Movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning, 44-year-old Cedric Leon Tinker is in jail charged with attempted murder and other crimes after he allegedly fired a TPD officer's weapon during a scuffle. No one was hit by the bullet in the West End incident. Tinker's family had reported mental health issues with the man. The scuffle broke out when Tinker refused to go to the hospital for evaluation. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for local news, sports, and weather updates all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are in prime time ride now, and traffic is still on the lighter side. We're looking at pretty minimal delays, and even inside the construction zone, you're not doing too bad at all. 2059 moves smooth on the eastbound lanes between Joe Malisham and McFarland Boulevard, where you do have that long-term.
The Last Scoreboard Show from 10 to 11 p.m. The Last Scoreboard Show is brought to you by 4th District Congressman Robert Adderholt, Bevel State Community College, 1225 Sports Bar, and Taco Casa.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Take care of any problems you got with a damp crawl space or a crack in your foundation. They even do pest control and lawn care. Full service Alabama Professional Services at alabamaprofessional.com.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, to the Yellowwood Hotline, get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning. How you doing today?
We're doing okay.
Good. I appreciate Coach Oates' comment on the practice session last night, because he's right. We've got some very physical teams coming up, but man, that was kind of a mess. And my big worry last night would be an injury. That's what started concerning me. So hopefully they got out of it without somebody getting hurt. But Barry, have you heard anything on Grant's status and Aiden Sherrill's status? Because they were two of the four guys that didn't play last night, the other two being Wrightsell and Youngblood. I think
they said, the guys doing the game, and I heard this was a real game they could have played. So they expect to have everybody back but Youngblood. Now, on Monday, the only problem is that when you don't have those guys, you like to kind of get a rotation as to who you're going to sub for who and where you're going to go here and that, and they didn't get a chance to do that. But I know that two of those guys, Wrightsell and obviously Grant Nelson, will play a lot. But Sherrill, we'll see. But now you're going to have to eliminate some guys that were playing a lot of minutes there. So they got to figure out the rotation. And a lot of times that's what the exhibition game's for.
Yeah. What was your you and Wimp's general feeling on what you saw last night?
I just thought I thought Memphis was very athletic. I don't know. They could not shoot the ball very well. They made it an ugly game. There was just so many fouls. There was no rhythm. There was 96 free throws, I think. So there was no rhythm at all to the game whatsoever. It was just I think during the game, I think Penny Hardaway showed Penny and Coach Oates talking at midcourt. I think they decided during the game, because it's an exhibition game, we're not going to have anybody foul out. Now they kept saying they didn't tell the players, but the kid from Rutgers had 7 fouls. There was one kid from Memphis that had 7 fouls. So it was just it was a sloppy, a lot of turnovers. Alabama was up 20 the first half, and they gave up, I think, 58 points in the second half, which they can't do. They can't do, obviously, and they can't foul that much. But
no, they sure can't. Who were the refs for that game? Were they after refs?
No, it was SEC officials. I couldn't give you their names, but I mean, the guys were fouling. I mean, they weren't. Yeah. It was very, very physical, and it was hard to watch, just to be quite honest.
Yeah. With you. Oh, yeah. It was brutal. No rhythm. Stoppages after stoppages.
Yeah, but I don't think that's how it would normally be.
Yeah. Well, the opener's coming up. I mean, it'll be here soon, November the 4th, UNC Asheville on ESPNU. So right around the corner, man.
Yes, sir.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Philip. All right, back to the Yellowwood Hotline. Get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. You want to put Tom?
Is Tom there?
I don't know. I didn't hear him.
Tom going once. Tom going twice. All right, call us back, Tom, when you get a chance there. So there he is, I think, calling right back. So Alabama football, I'm sure they're in preparation. Now, people are saying, well, what hurts LSU? Well, the quarterback run. It seems when you play against Texas A&M and that happens to you, all right, we'll get to Tom before we get into all that. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hey, Tom, good morning.
Good morning to both of you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
You know, something you said about the game last night, that you're so right. I hate games. They're so hard to watch. There's no flow to it or anything else. But I wanted to ask you this. Alabama's kind of running away with it in the first half. They're making threes. They're dominating the rebounding, and everything's going our way, right?
Yeah.
And then they go to half court, and they go, nobody's going to foul out of this game. And that was Coach Oates. He instigated that. Well, the minute he said that, Hardaway goes, you know what? I can make us look better than what we really are. So we'll just do everything we can to slow the game down. Am I right there?
You mean by fouling? I don't think you ever coach your players to foul. They just.
No, you sure don't.
That's a mistake to foul. So they were just, they're over aggressive. I think they wanted to prove a point. You know, Alabama, let's be honest, they're ranked 2. They read all this about Mark.
Yeah,
they read all this about Mark Sears. These guys, there's transfers from Wichita State and Tulsa. And I mean, and they want to get out there and prove that they're worthy of.
Better than what everybody thought they were.
That's right. And they're big.
And they picked 7th in the American.
I thought they were picked.
And you don't think
they picked them? Well, the graph that they showed last night had them picked 2nd.
They
ain't gonna finish 7th. I promise you that. They're talented. They just can't shoot.
Well, I agree with you there, but it's the coaching strategy that you know. He said, "Look, I can make a splash here in the second half because they're not going to foul my guys out. I can be more aggressive. I can slow this thing down." Because if Alabama gets out and run it, they're going to run us back to Memphis before the game's over.
Well, only thing I'll say, Alabama was doing the fouling in the first half. Memphis just can't make free throws. If they could make free throws, that game would have been a lot closer at halftime.
Well, the one thing you have to remember, if you're coaching basketball the way it should be coached, not that they don't, both of them I'm sure do, is that in my lingo, a foul is a defensive mistake. There are times that on the boards that you foul somebody going after the ball, and you wouldn't clarify it as a defensive mistake. But and I'm not going back to I coach, so I'm not trying to do that. I have to be careful what I say. But when I tried to coach our team, a foul was a defensive mistake, and I don't want to play a game where the fouls are not counted if I'm going to let them make mistakes. That's just me.
I agree with that. That's not like a real game. In that game last night, over half of each team would have fouled out. Mark Sears had 3 on him, and before 7 minutes was to go in the first half.
Well, I think Coach he only had 9 scholarship players available in the game. And, I don't know.
Tom, I would say this to you, and you're old enough to see some of it maybe, but most of the listeners were. But the guy that I'm going to have on, Mike Davis,
right?
He just got there. He's been at UAB, they've been all different places, but he was the very best player, playing hard all the time and also defending. If we decide on our matchups who was going to play who, and I'm going to say that when I introduce him.
I remember.
He played his fanny off, and I will tell you what I said. I will tell you what I said. I'd worked on him for 2 years, and I got a rumor that on his they were going to have his basketball banquet that night, and he was going to announce that he was going to Auburn.
Right.
And so I got in the car, and I went up there, and I'm going to tell you what I said, but he's walking down the sidewalk with his books. And when he gets down to the bottom of the steps, I'm out of the car. And I said, Mike, are you going to announce that you're going to go to Auburn tonight at the banquet? I didn't say it that nice. And he said, yeah, I think so. And then I told him what I thought, and he changed. It's the only time in my whole life, all the guys I recruited, that one sentence changed it some, but it did, and he was a great player for us. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't make it personal, but that's what happened.
You know, that's a great story and one that I like. I've heard you tell it before.
Yeah.
And but I'll listen, Coach. I could hear it 1,000 times. It's one I enjoy. But you know, he was a big deal around here where we're from. He was from Fayette, and so you know, we were real familiar with Mike's career in this West Alabama, and then when he announced for Alabama, you know, that was icing on the cake, so to speak. But yeah, you're right. You know, last night I was thinking about some of the things you said about fouls being a defensive mistake, and I was going, you know, good God, we're going to get killed if we make this many mistakes.
Yeah, but Alabama's got so much depth that a fouling game's not going to really bother them because they can just keep going to the bench. And when those guys are eligible, and they're going to be able to score. So it's going to be a great year for them.
One of my other questions I want to ask y'all this. You know, the way that Penny and that staff played us last night reminded me, you know, the guy that coaches down at South Alabama, and when he rolls into Tuscaloosa with some of the early games that we played them, and they're always tough because they got these transfers from LSU and all this kind of stuff, and they are always tough. But that's kind of the game plan he plays us with. Physical, you know, a lot of pushing, shoving, and so forth.
Yeah.
Remember?
You talking about Jacksonville State?
No, I'm talking about South Alabama.
Oh, I'm not sure. Which coach you talking about? Talking about Musselman?
I can't remember his name. I can't remember stuff like that.
Musselman was the guy that liked to kind of muck the game up.
No, it's not him. It's the one that's been there the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's the guy from Butler that's there. But anyway, Alabama played much better. You just Coach Oates and they didn't get back great in transition. They fouled too much. They gave a bunch of offensive rebounds. So it gives him some talking points in practice.
I know one thing. The look on that defensive coach's face last night, he wasn't happy either.
He shouldn't have been. Thank you, Tom.
See you.
Thank you.
See you.
All right, we'll get the break here. We'll get Kevin Skarbinski, and you listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are in prime time ride now, and traffic is still on the lighter side. We're looking at pretty minimal delays, and even inside the construction zone, you're not doing too bad at all. 2059 moves smooth on the eastbound lanes between Joe Malisham and McFarland Boulevard, where you do have that long-term road work, and McFarland east and westbound between Jack Warner and Lurleen Wallace. That's all nice and good. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, Tammy Thomas.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
These changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
It's 60 degrees in Tuscaloosa. Mostly sunny today with a warm afternoon, the high around 80. Fair tonight, the low 61. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 81. Very warm on Thursday, partially sunny. The chance of a shower Thursday night, the high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion, Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Build the 5-star backyard, the fence, the deck, the pergola. Only one choice, that would be Yellowwood. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, to the Yellowwood hotline, you can read Kevin Skarbinski in the Birmingham Lead. You can watch him on CBS 42, college football Saturday at 6:30. Joins us every Tuesday. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Hey, Kevin. I'm good, fellas. Good morning. Hope you're well.
Good. Go ahead, Deb.
I know it's a long way off, but a week from Saturday, Alabama faced LSU at a place that I was familiar with as a fan because Coach Bryant won big there. Probably they won more games there than anybody that's ever played at Baton Rouge. Does this Missouri game show us that Alabama has the ability to go into LSU and win?
I don't know if those two are directly related, but the second half showed that Alabama can crush an overmatched opponent, which Missouri was. I thought Missouri was overhyped and overranked to start with, and a product of a soft schedule. And certainly they were banged up at the skill positions in particular. we saw some really horrendous backup quarterback performances over the weekend across the SEC, and one great backup quarterback performance at Texas A&M by Marcel Reed. But they're two different teams, LSU and Missouri. Now, I will say, to hear Brian Kelly after Marcel Reed from Texas A&M really gave them problems, and he's more of a runner than a thrower at this stage of his career. He can throw it, but he's much better with the ball, carrying the ball. When Brian Kelly said afterwards, if I were an opposing team, I would run the ball. I would lean on the quarterback run. That probably made Jalen Milroe's eyes light up a little bit, because obviously he's as good a runner at the quarterback position as there is in America. So there are some advantages for Alabama there. The defense did show some improvement, but again, the Missouri backup quarterback was so bad. Yeah. Just throwing the ball directly to Alabama defenders. I don't know how much of a gauge you get from that, other than that's what you're supposed to do if you're Alabama to an overmatched opponent. And in the second half, they finally did that.
Yeah, he was bad. And then I hear people say, well, that's what Alabama's got to do. They stuck to the running game. Well, yeah, when you know that the other team's got no chance to score, you can just pretty much call any play you want. And so they did stick to the running game. But will you stick to the running game when you're in Baton Rouge and you're down 10-0? Those are the times when you got to run the football in tight games like that, when teams can match you score for score. So what LSU did at Texas A&M, they're going to take the next 2 weeks to prepare for a running quarterback. They weren't ready for that guy when he came in, Reed, when he came in the second half. But you'll see a much different LSU team than you saw Saturday night in College Station, correct, Kevin?
I would expect so, yes. What was really surprising wasn't just that the LSU defense looked completely unprepared to deal with Marcel Reed, but Garrett Nussmeier. It was like someone flipped a switch, and all of a sudden he looked like Drew Pine from Missouri. Some of the passes he threw, some of the interceptions he threw in that second half. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what A&M did in terms of its defensive calls, but my goodness, he looked really bad in that second half. And Alabama needs to find a way to do what Texas A&M did to him and put him under duress. I know they pressured him. That was a big part of it. And he did not handle the pressure very well and made some, again, very, very rookie-like mistakes. And he's far from an SEC rookie.
Yeah.
As we look at the, I think this is the most important thing on our listeners if he ask these kind of questions. As we look at trying to decide who the 12 are going to be from the SEC, I think because of the parity we have confusion. And so I would say Texas is not as good as I thought. I thought A&M, regardless, they got two places they can get beat. But give our listeners, give our listeners 1, 2, 3, and 4. If they go as high as 4 teams in the SEC that you feel like would get in the final 12.
Well, let me preface that by saying, before I give you the teams, let me say the one factor that people are just starting to discuss, and it is the unbalanced scheduling that you get in these mega conferences.
Yep.
Texas A&M doesn't have to play Georgia or Alabama in their regular season.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Which is patently unfair. Texas did not play a true road game because they played the Red River Shootout in Dallas. They didn't play a true road game in the conference until Saturday. Yeah. And their first true road game in the SEC was at a place where almost every fan base has more fans than the home team at Vanderbilt. Now, you tell me who came up with that schedule, how they thought it was fair. Compare Oklahoma's schedule to Texas's schedule, for example. It's night and day.
Sure.
And when you always said scheduling was recruiting and scheduling, the two most important things that determine how well you're going to have how well you're going to play, what kind of season you're going to have. That scheduling factor is huge. and Texas A&M both got advantageous schedules. And the bad thing is, folks, if you don't like it, guess what? They're doing it again next year. They're just flipping the home and road games. Yes. No, they're doing the same schedule next year, but they're flipping the home and road games. And then somewhere between now and 2026, they're going to decide, are they going to stay at 8 conference games? Are they going to play 9 conference games? How are they going to break it down? How are they going to arrange the schedule going forward? But no, this was a 2-year deal.
Your guess is 9, isn't it?
Oh, I think it would be unconscionable for them to stay at 8.
Okay.
I think it's going to hurt at some point. It hasn't hurt them so far, and maybe it won't. But it seems like at some point that would have to come back to bite you. For example, and Missouri's not going to be in it, but if Missouri had continued on and continued to win, and maybe even got into the SEC championship game or not, or been one of those 4 contenders for a spot, they would have been in trouble because of their schedule, I think, with the committee. Now, who are the 4 right now? Georgia certainly looks like the best team in the league. Then you probably have Texas A&M right now. And then I feel very strongly that if Alabama goes to Baton Rouge and wins out, they will be in the playoffs. At 10-2 with a win over Georgia and one of the losses at Tennessee. Now, Tennessee is the wild card here. Alabama needs I think it would certainly help Alabama. You say it would help them if Tennessee plays well because that bolsters Alabama's strength of schedule. Yeah, but if it comes down to 10-2 Tennessee, 10-2 Alabama, and Tennessee won the head-to-head, that's not a position you want to be in on Selection Sunday.
But they're going to be in it if Alabama wins because Tennessee's got Kentucky, Mississippi State, at Georgia, so we'll say they lose that. UTEP and Vandy, they're going to be 10-2.
Most likely.
Yeah. So if Alabama goes,
and they have a win, yeah. then it gets dicey. Then it gets dicey for Alabama. If they have the same record as Tennessee, and again, and that's head to head. If all else is close to equal, and it's harder than ever for it to be close to equal with these mega conferences and these unbalanced schedules. But if all else is close to equal, then head-to-head should rule the day. And that's the card that Tennessee holds over Alabama right now.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M, they could lose this weekend, but then they got to add Auburn and Texas at home. So they could be a lot of teams 10-2, Kevin.
Yes.
Right down to it. And then they're going to have to look at those 2, and I think that's when scheduling factors in. Like when you say who did they lose to? Alabama's okay with the Tennessee when the Vandy. We'll see how Vandy finishes up. Their schedule's pretty tough here at the end. I always, Kevin, are any of these? Will all of these SEC coaches be back? We had a guy tell us yesterday he thinks the Florida situation has already been decided. And I laugh when people say, and maybe it does come down to this, well, he's got to win that game to save his job. If you're telling me if that one game, whoever that is going to determine whether you keep a guy or not. So all the stuff that he's done, you should know how he's recruiting, what kind of coach he is, what kind of staff he has. It should never come down to if he wins that one game, that'll save his job. If that's the case, you got real problems there. If he's not the right guy, he's not the right guy, even if he wins that particular game. Where does Billy Napier stand? Their schedule is absolutely brutal here the rest of the year. Where does he stand right now, in your opinion?
First of all, let me stand up and yell, "Amen, brother!" on your larger point. That is the most asinine argument I've ever heard. He has to win this game to keep his job. Again, he's been there, what? Is this his third year? Fourth year? I've lost track. Third year, I guess. But you have, at this point, you have an entire mountain of evidence to decide whether he is the guy going forward, whether they're ready for a breakthrough, because they need a breakthrough, and next season would have to be that breakthrough if he comes back. One win what if you win by 1 point? Or what if you lose by 1 point? That's gonna make your decision for you.
Yeah,
it's absolute nonsense. I don't know. There is a lot of belief in DJ Lagway, the quarterback, the young quarterback, the true freshman quarterback, as the future in Gainesville. He's already attained somewhat of a cult-like status. My older son was in, who of course you guys know goes to school at Florida, was in a bar and grill last week during their off week, and DJ came in there, and he had to leave after like 5 minutes because he was immediately swarmed by people wanting autographs and pictures, and he hasn't been a superstar yet, but he shows flashes of becoming a superstar, and he's, from all indications, he's a really good leader, a strong young man, someone that his teammates rally around and gravitate to. So they really want him. They really believe he is the future. Now, what happens if you get rid of Billy Napier and you have a quarterback? If you have a guy you believe is a foundational quarterback, a transformational quarterback, dare I even say a Tebow-like quarterback, although there is probably only ever going to be one of those, then you have to think long and hard. What does DJ Lagway do if you fire Billy Napier? Now, I also, in a corollary to your, this game's going to determine whether to fire somebody. I don't think you should ever hire or fire a coach based on a recruiting class, one player necessarily. So I'm contradicting myself a little bit. But if that player is as special as they really believe DJ Lagway is, then that is at least something to consider in your decision-making process. Well, but it'll probably really come down to, it's going to come down to whether the big boosters want to spend the money to make a change. And who are you going to get? Are you going to get Lane Kiffin? Is Lane Kiffin really a difference maker? Is Lane Kiffin going to come in and win an SEC championship?
No.
His best teams at Ole Miss aren't doing that. Now, they've improved Ole Miss, certainly, but they also had how they lost to Kentucky. That's almost a fireable offense after watching what's happened to Kentucky this year. Holy cow, have they gone in the tank?
Yeah.
I think for both of you, and I would somewhat agree with you, I think it's a little bit different than what you and Barry say. No, one game should not decide whether a guy stays or goes. But if you jump into the athletic director's office, where he is getting the money, and he's got 4 or 5 huge donors who are willing to give, thinking that Florida's on their way back, then that becomes important.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as important as he fires him, but I think that becomes a little bit more important than we realize this day and time, because of the belief that the athletic director and you have in 4 or 5 big donors.
And with the fact that schools themselves are going to have to start paying the players directly,
yeah,
which is, $20 to $22 million a year more that you're going to have to spend in expenses, which means you have to raise it somehow. Those donors become even more important. It's like a friend of mine who's a big sports fan. A friend of mine who's a big sports fan says, money is the answer. What's the question? Usually comes down to that.
That's a good line. I like that. Money is the answer.
My friend Frank, you guys know who Frank is. I won't say his last name, but you guys would know who Frank is. He's pretty wise in the ways of the sports world.
Are we getting what was anticipated with the portal, and I guess NIL as well? There's not a great team in college football. There's not a great team. There's a lot of parity. Is that what we want? A lot of 2 and 3 loss teams in the playoff. Is that what all this was all about?
Well, that's not what Alabama fans want. You guys know that.
No, I know that.
The teams that have been at the top, Georgia fans are in that boat now. They want to be the dominant program. They want there to be one program that everybody else is chasing. It looks like certainly this is a year. The last year similar to this that we saw almost complete chaos was 2007, when LSU in Les Miles' third year was able to win a national championship with 2 losses. And they were both overtime defeats in the SEC to Kentucky and Arkansas, but They did have 2 losses, and they still made it into the BCS championship game, and they dominated Ohio State when they got there. So that this year is definitely shaping up like that. And one thing, to go back to the playoff discussion, the committee is not supposed to, and this is what, there's been talk that the SEC and the Big Ten want automatic slots. They'd like 4, at least say 4 automatic slots each. Well, that's not the rule right now. So they don't have to put 4 SEC teams in. They don't have to stop at 4 SEC teams, because you're also comparing them with teams like Indiana. And look, Curt Cignetti, who was on Nick Saban's first staff at Alabama, has done a fantastic job there. But go look at their schedule. It's really, really weak. So how do you compare an undefeated team that hasn't played anyone of any significance, with a team like Alabama with 2 losses, but look who they've played, or some other 2-loss teams or 1-loss teams? And that's going to be a real challenge. Now, if Indiana does go undefeated, they will have to beat Ohio State. I think they play Ohio State. They will have to win the Big 12 championship game to go undefeated, and then they'll have some blue chips on their side of the table that will stand them in really good stead on Selection Sunday. But right now, their schedule is awful. So that doesn't mean the team isn't incredibly improved. It doesn't mean Curt Cignetti hasn't done a good job. And by the way, there's some talk in Gainesville that Curt Cignetti, even though I think he's 63 or 64 years old, is gaining some steam as a potential replacement for Billy Napier. So something to keep an eye on. You heard it. If it happens, you heard it here first.
Kevin, did you get a chance to watch the Foul Fest up in Huntsville last night?
I did not. I read about it. And first of all, what were Nate Oates and Penny Hardaway thinking in agreeing to a no foul out rule for that exhibition game? I guess I know what they were thinking, to get their guys more minutes, but good grief, I'm not sure that was a really good idea from a quality of basketball standpoint.
Yeah, it was sloppy. And Memphis is just so physical, and they were fouling. Alabama was fouling them. Memphis couldn't make a free throw. Alabama had 4 guys out for the game. But next Monday should be an exciting year in the state for college basketball. I think UAB is expected to be really, really good. I think Samford will be really good. Alabama and Auburn ranked in the top 20. I think the guys at Troy and Jacksonville State do a good job. Should be an exciting year for basketball throughout the state, shouldn't it, Kevin, for college?
It really should, when you think about it. I mean, Alabama's picked to win the SEC. Samford was picked by the coaches to win the Southern Conference again, as they did last year. UAB was picked in the same league as Memphis. They were picked to win the AAC. They won the tournament last year, UAB did. You look at all the Auburn is number, I don't know how you do a Ken Palm before the season starts, but they were 3 and Alabama was 4 in Ken Palm nationally. So this should be one of those seasons that there are a lot of wins, there are a lot of memorable wins, and there are teams that are chasing the postseason that are stamping their tickets to the postseason, not easily, because none of it's easy, but fairly early, that we don't come down to Selection Sunday and worry whether your team's going to be in or out of the tournament. And I think it's going to make for a really exciting season. And by the way, that first opening night next Monday night, UAB plays Vermont. And you guys know, most people, a lot of people might not think much when they hear the name Vermont, but that's a really good mid-major program. That may be the best mid-major game of the year to start off the season, or at least the opening week or two, with Vermont visiting UAB. And UAB's really pumping up, trying to fill up Bartow Arena. They've sold a lot of tickets so far. It's not quite full, so there are tickets available. I'm planning to go to that one. I really want to see this new edition of Andy Kennedy's Blazers, because I think they're going to be really, really good. And Yaxel Lendeborg is going to be one of the better players in the country.
Yeah, Andy was talking about him yesterday, and him being loyal to UAB and turning down lots of opportunities there. So, all right, Kevin, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, the best thing to do, follow me on Twitter /X at Kevin Skarbinski. You get links to all the different work that I'm doing. The Saturday TV show, Scott Griffin and I are having a lot of fun. CBS College Football Saturday at 6:30. On Saturdays, it's a tough time slot, but you can always record it and watch it later. We have a lot of fun with it. And then my 2 columns a week in the Birmingham Lead and other things I'm doing. In fact, the work I did from SEC Basketball Media Days, I did a preview of each women's team and each men's team, and they are running those on SECsports.com. They didn't run them all. We didn't do them all on the first 2 days like we used to do. They're spacing them out and running them as a preview leading up to the start of the season. So people should check that out at SECsports.com.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week.
Thank you. All right, we'll take this break. We want to thank Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern. They always make this 7 o'clock hour possible. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. Go to yellowwood.com to find a dealer closest to you. Always remember, 8:15, we'll have Mike Davis on. Mike was on the bench for Memphis last night up in Huntsville. Great player here at Alabama. From Fayette. Used to be the head coach at Indiana. Chase, did you know that? Yeah. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care, for a Wednesday edition of the program. We'll continue to talk about Alabama, Mizzou. We'll talk about what Alabama needs to get accomplished during bye week. We welcome your calls at 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. We'll also continue to break down the rest of the SEC in 2024. Those conversations and more right here on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Definitely thickening up now on 43, specifically on the southbound lanes to McFarland. That's got you real tight back to Flatwoods Road. And moving on McFarland to east and westbound at Lurleen Wallace. We're not doing too badly there. Construction zone.
To be. Visit us now to save big and discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In Game 3 of the World Series, the Dodgers defeat the Yankees in the Bronx 4-2. LA's Freddie Freeman hit a 2-run homer in the first inning. He now has a home run in each of the 3 games of the World Series so far. Mookie Betts and Kike Hernandez each drove in runs as well. LA starting pitcher Walker Buehler tossed 5 shutout innings. He allowed 2 hits, 5 strikeouts in the win. Yankee starter Clark Schmidt lasted just 2 2/3 innings. He allowed 3 runs, 4 walks in the loss. Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani did play despite a shoulder injury. He was 0-3, hit by a pitch, walked, and had a run scored. Dodgers lead the series 3-0. No team in the history of the World Series has ever come back to win the Fall Classic down 3-0. Game 4 tonight in New York. Week 8 of the NFL came to a close with Monday Night Football in Pittsburgh, with the Steelers beating the Giants 26-18. Pittsburgh wide receiver Calvin Austin III had a 73-yard punt return for a touchdown and a 29-yard touchdown reception. Pittsburgh is 6-2 with the win. Giants 2-6 with the loss.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today with a warm afternoon. The high around 80. Fair tonight, the low 61. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 81. Very warm on Thursday, partially sunny. The chance of a
makes sense for your business.
Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free demo of the Townsquare Business Management Platform. Visit townsquarelocal.com. That's townsquarelocal.com.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. Allstate Insurance Agent Andrew Conifer. Andrew is my agent. Let him become yours. His group's out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. Look for Home Life Auto. You need to change your insurance. Whatever you need, they are there, ready, willing to help you. 205-722-9201. Andrew Conifer, Allstate Insurance. All right. As Alabama prepares for this LSU game, I think it's a an elimination game for the playoff. I think the loser, unless something crazy just happens, will be eliminated. First, you got to deal with crowd noise. I don't think Alabama handled crowd noise very good at Tennessee. And then, Nussmeier can pass the football. They rely a lot on him, so he will stress your secondary. But I think people saw Texas A&M run, but I don't think they had gotten ready for a running quarterback. They've got 2 weeks now to get ready for Jalen Milroe and his strengths and weaknesses. So, when people say, well, the game plan needs to be do what Texas A&M did, well, they're going to try to shore that up. So it's not quite as easy as the fans make it sound out to be. Just what will Alabama run into down there? And communication is a key in a place that's going to be this loud. Lane Kiffin's complaining that they didn't get any night games and that LSU's getting another one. It's tough down there at night in Baton Rouge.
Well, it is. I think the games prior to this game don't mean much. You get a little bit of a look at Alabama and decide whether they are good or bad. Basically, and LSU, you look at them and they're good sometimes. They beat an Ole Miss team, but they lose at A&M. They're not going to be. So I think you don't get a great look. But so I think I agree with you. I think when you're going into Baton Rouge, it's an entirely different game. It was for Coach Bryant. I watched it a lot, and I watched the assistant coaches prepare for that game. And that's all past history. I'm just pointing out that it's hard to go down there and win. Can you go down there and win? Sure. But you can't go down there and win and be penalized a lot. Penalties will absolutely kill you anywhere, but it'll kill you down there. You'll lose your momentum. You remember now that LSU went for two at a point in time when I thought Alabama had made a mistake by kicking the extra point myself and scored and won the game against Alabama with Coach Saban. And so they're being real hard to beat down there. Don't if you're a bettor, and I guess on the line I kind of got pretty close. I think I said two. I didn't have any idea, but I think if you're a bettor, you better be careful because this game is going to be physical. It's going to be well prepared by both teams, I'm sure. Alabama staff, Alabama people, some of the Alabama players have never been there before. Makes you a little bit different. Wow, I didn't know it was like this. There'll be some of the answers to some of them. So I think you think. I'm not trying to say what you think, but I think you think, along with myself, that it's going to be a very difficult game.
Yeah, I just think that the crowd affected this Alabama team. I saw Milroe walking up and trying to talk to each individual lineman, and so getting your plays off, I think was difficult for them there. It just didn't seem to handle it very well. Now, the more you get in that environment, the better. And I'm just hopefully, if they take away the run, they take away the running of the quarterback, can he pass the ball well enough for those guys to win? Now, I do think Nussmeier does have a tendency to make some mistakes. He gets beat up during a football game as well.
Yeah, I think he's a good and bad quarterback.
Yeah,
I think there's sometimes early in the game he's very good, and I think sometimes a little bit later in the game, just from observation, not just one game, he's he loses it sometimes. Now that could be the offensive line not blocking the way they should. Defensively, with hiring the new coach they got from Missouri, they tackle better. Are they a lot better? I don't know. They're a lot better. I'm telling you right now, A&M ran through them like Epsom salts through a widow woman. I mean, they ran through them something terrible. So we'll see.
Yeah. So what is that? With what A&M's doing, does that have anything to say about what Jimbo Fisher was doing there?
I don't think it's quite fair. Jimbo looks back at it and saying, well, maybe I should, I think it bothers you probably for him because he's got I forget how many $1 million that he's, can only kill so many birds, he said. So, he's bored. I would imagine that if he can't find a college job, or somebody would take him because of his past, and although he won a national championship for Florida State, I would imagine he's looking at pro jobs as assistant coaches or somewhere where he can move up. But I think that's a good question, and I think it's a question that bothers him probably a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So I don't even know what Jimbo's doing. Usually those guys kind of transition to TV and you hear them talk. They have a podcast or they're doing something, but
there's not anything any worse than to wake up those mornings with nothing to do and realize, y'all got plenty of money. I'm not sure what I want to buy today. And it's hard.
Yeah. So, anyway, nobody could ever answer me if Kane Womack's dad is a analyst.
Yeah.
Did you tell me he wasn't?
I didn't tell you he wasn't. I don't think he's an analyst, no.
I had a guy.
I could be wrong. The guy that called you and said he was, and I'm wrong.
No. He didn't say he was. There was somebody that sent us an app message yesterday that wanted to know his backgrounds. I didn't get to that. So he was the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss in 15-16. They're 12 through 14. He was at Arkansas State 2011, Georgia Tech 2008, 2009. He was at Southern Miss. He was at South Carolina 2005 and 2006. He was at Arkansas, Southern Miss. So this guy's been around. I've never seen, if he's not an analyst, I've never seen a father on the sideline that close to his son.
They came up with the name Swarm Defense, and it's a different kind of alignment than some of the other alignments. It also is an alignment that people at Georgia, because they're so good defensively, understand, and I think they're the best defensive group in the SEC at Georgia. Myself, I think their coaches are, and their preparation is good. So I think. He might as well be an analyst because he has a sideline pass. And, there's a possibility as you walk down the hall to the halftime that you might be walking down the hall with your dad, if you're Kane, talk a little bit about what happened and what didn't happen. He was really thrilled to see him shut out Missouri. I'm kind of like you and Kevin. I would have been thrilled to have shut them out, but I wouldn't have felt like my defense had arrived yet.
Yeah, hey, it's great to shut them out. But let's be honest. That offense was pathetic. The guy, and there was no threat, so people were like, that's what Alabama's got to do. Help me with this, Chase, when they start doing they got to run the ball like they did. Well, you can stay with the run when you're up 20-0. Yeah, you just keep running the ball. You don't have to be creative because you know they're not going 20-0. You might as well have been up 89-0. So tell Wyatt what he's bragging about that's what they got to do. They got to run the ball. Yeah, they go. But if they're down 7 points or it's a 3-point game, then you're going to have to do some other things. And they do need to run the ball more, but it's a little bit easier on the play caller when you know that other team's not going to score at all.
I think the one thing that we are going to see, how well you can do it, I don't know. I think it's an offensive line game. By that I mean the more you can keep the defense from getting to the quarterback or affecting the quarterback for LSU or for Alabama, that is the difference in the game. You may come out and say, boy, so-and-so had a great game. Well, that just means that they didn't get to him correctly. So I think to me, instead of it being a running game or passing game, whatever game you want to call it, it's an offensive line game.
Yeah, that line now play better. I don't know what kind of speed they have on the edges, but if you're fast, you can get by Alabama's offensive linemen. And those sacks, they turn that fan into a frenzy. So it gets crazy. All right,
Ain't no fun down there.
Yeah, we'll take the break here, and we will get to Mike Davis, my main guy. Yes, the Tide 100.9 is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're all crunked up on 43. Southbound lanes onto McFarland Boulevard. You got a long red line of brake lights back to Flatwoods Road. And we also move slow on McFarland. This is both east and westbound lanes. And your eastbound side starts at Watermelon Road, and that takes you back a ways. And then that
Fridays at the Free at Innisfree Irish Pub, 1925 University Boulevard downtown. Come join Wyatt Fulton for lunch at Innisfree Irish Pub.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by Everwood Treatment Company, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. Everwood, wood treated right. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Here are more thoughts from Alabama head coach Kalen DeVore following Alabama's 34-0 win against Missouri last Saturday.
Taking a big step, and I feel like we're just right on the edge, and so we'll get a chance to hash through those areas, those gray areas that a lot of times lead to penalties or just misexecution. It just can't be that every little thing that is new or happens to us is something we have to learn, a hard lesson from, and it might be just execution of a play. I'm not even talking about penalties all the time. So, go back to work, and I know that where the guys' heads are at with what they did this last week, with what happened today, and not a good time for us to have this week to get ready for LSU, and the bye. You can always find a reason for it to be a good time, and I feel it's a good time just our guys to recover physically and mentally and make the final run.
I'll have more in a moment.
Producing championship quality lumber is not an easy process, but at Everwood Preserving, it's our only process. Wood treated right. Everwood offers top-notch pressure-treated wood for decks, outdoor structures, commercial jobs, and more that you can build your reputation on. When it comes to quality, we're on the winning team. Visit your local Everwood dealer today and discover the difference for yourself. Everwood Preserving Incorporated, the official lumber of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
If you missed last night's edition of Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, catch it on demand on the Alabama Insider Podcast. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Everwood. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. Great sponsor on Inside the Locker Room. 2 more days. You can buy 3 tires and get that 4th tire for $1. You can purchase it and shop those tires right there on the website. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. If you're looking for the Highlander, they got great lease deals on the Highlander. The RAV4, one of the hottest selling cars out there, is 3.99 APR for the RAV4 there. Man, you want a car, the 2025s are already in the Toyota Camry. Beautiful vehicle there. You can already get the 25 there. 3.99 APR for 36 months. And plenty of options on the trucks, the Tundras, the Toyota Tacomas. Whatever you want out there, swing out there today and tell Justin and David that Wimp and Barry sent you. 3325 Skyland Boulevard, or go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. All right. As we transition, we're trying to catch Mike Davis here. I know they were traveling back. I'm sure they traveled back last night after the game. But as far as the SEC goes, Dad, the games this week, we'll look at those lines there real fast, see if anything's changed on that. Ole Miss and Arkansas, Lane Kiffin is complaining. He thinks his fan base deserves a night game, and they are playing at 11 in the morning against Arkansas. Of course, that game's on the road, but I think the next week they have a home game. They have Ole Miss, any hope, they're going to have to win out and then maybe get some help there, but they are 7-point favorite at Arkansas. Arkansas blew out Mississippi State. What's your thoughts there about this game?
Ole Miss is out. They won't get in. I think too much has gone down on them. I don't know about the Arkansas game. I think it'd be anybody's game, but I think you're going to be out. I just think when you cut the line at 12, and you've got probably 2 out of the ACC. Tell how many out of the Big Ten, and you've got some out of the Big 12, and then you've got other SEC players that are better than Ole Miss. You got real problems. I would guess if they win 25-20, they're still not going to get in. I think they're out personally.
Well, the only hope they could win that game, and they could knock off Georgia at home. Now that would obviously give them a chance.
Sure, that would
get in. So they have some opportunity there if they could do that. Now that's easier said than done, but we'll see. The Vanderbilt at Auburn game to me is interesting. The line right now is Auburn by 6. Just your thoughts there. Does Hugh Freeze, did they find something there? They had a great running game last week. They'll be at home. If they want to go bowling, they're going to need to pick up a few more victories. They got to get 3 more wins somewhere. How do you see the Vanderbilt Auburn game?
I think Auburn comes back and wins. They better defend the option better. They've already gone against this guy before. They've seen him beat their rivals, Alabama. So I think Auburn comes back and probably win. I think that's a confidence builder for them. I think they feel a little bit better about themselves. I don't think they're great, and to be fighting for a bowl game is ridiculous, and they're going to have a hard time getting to 6. So we'll see. But I would say that I'm not going to blue plate it, but I think Auburn wins the game and wins it not handily, but wins it by 7 or 10 or something.
Yeah, Billy Napier, we've talked about him. Obviously, if he did win, this would energize his fan base. I hear you what you're saying. I'm not sure you're not right. Like the AD has to find a reason to want to keep you. And one of the things, can we sell tickets if this guy's our head coach next year? Well, if you knock off Georgia and this freshman quarterback plays really well, then maybe the AD feels like, you know what, we can't lose this quarterback. We can sell some tickets if this guy comes back. But Georgia seems to be rolling down the line at 17 in this game. Your thoughts about Florida, Georgia?
I think that's about right. Georgia, it prepares so well, and they study so hard. I think I got good defensive people there. I won't be surprised if it goes either way. I think the problem that your athletic director has is, do I have enough support if they were to beat Georgia to keep him without me making some big announcement? We are now keeping. I don't think they're going to do anything like that. I think they're going to let it be known they're going to keep him if they were to do well, and because of recruiting, and so people will realize that they keep him. And there'll be some people that'll be mad because they are keeping him regardless. But I'm kind of like you a little bit in that game. I kind of think they've done a little bit better than we thought. Maybe they changed quarterbacks, and that's been a little bit of a help. And I think whether they'll beat the line, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we've talked about A&M, South Carolina. A&M 2.5-point favorites. That line's gone down 0.5 point there. South Carolina's one of these teams. They play you great, and then they don't win.
That's right.
And they did that against LSU. They did against Alabama. Then they did go and steamroll Oklahoma. They did win their. I can't remember who they played before that, but they are a good football team. They'd be scary to play, especially at night down there. Big game for really both teams. South Carolina trying to get bowl eligible. They're at 4-3, so they got Clemson at the end of the year, so they need this win. But your thoughts about that game?
Well, I think the way the quarterback or whatever got the running game started, the way he ran the football, for A&M was surprising to me. And I'll guarantee they're spending a lot of time being darn sure they know where he is, spying on him. I think you're right on it. I think South Carolina's played pretty well. They haven't been the worst team in the league. They're where they want to be. No, but I tell you one thing: defensively, they're mean.
Yeah,
and they are tough, and they'll tackle your fanny, and they will get after you, and they will be ready to play. As you mentioned, the crowd there will get them ready to play, and they'll stay ready to play for that game. So I would say, if A&M comes out of this game with a win, although you don't think much about it because it's South Carolina, it would be a big win.
Yeah. All right. Let's transition to hoops. We'll get back to the Yellowwood hotline. The former Alabama great defensive player. He could shoot the ball as well, but is currently assistant coach at Memphis, who took on Alabama last night. Our good friend Mike Davis. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Mike, good morning.
How you guys doing?
Good.
I wanted to tell our listeners, so you'll hear it, that I coached a lot of guys in 32 years at Alabama and 5 years at LSU at Little Rock, And I haven't coached not one that played as hard as you did on every play. Not only in the game, but in practice. Not only do you shot the ball well, you're good defensively, but you know how I was hung up on playing hard. And you can say whatever about that, but I was hung up on that. And, brother, you played hard. And congratulations to you. I know you won't talk about that game last night. Barry, got something you want to ask him about his
Well, just tell everybody what you're doing now, Mike.
Well, I'm assistant coach at Memphis, and we got a chance to play North Carolina and Alabama in 2 exhibition games, which is really good for us because there's 2 top 10 teams that we played in the exhibition. So it definitely see where you are as a team. It's definitely going to help you as a team if you take advantage of playing teams like that. We hadn't been really, tested in practice, but those 2 games have really helped us helped our players to see all the things that we talk about as coaches, and how hard you have to practice. And if you don't practice hard, it's hard to sustain it in the games. And I think right now, by playing those 2 teams, it's going to really help us.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of new players, and I think they said only 2 players return. I did watch the game last night. I think, Alabama was down to 9 guys, and so maybe Coach Hardaway and Coach Oates talked about not having anybody foul out. Well, they took it to heart. A lot of fouls last night, but it's early. Both teams played extremely hard. Sometimes you just get out of position. Just talk about the game last night. But I think there was 96 free throws or something last night, Mike.
The game lasted a long time. We got back here last night about 3:00 in the morning, back to Memphis. But they agreed on it during the game. No one fouled out. And I think sometimes when you say that, players have a tendency just to foul a lot. I think we had one player had maybe 11 fouls. And, but it was a good game for us. I think it was a good game for them as well because, we got down early. Our guys played really tight early. We missed a bunch of free throws.
Yeah.
And so missed a lot of layups and free throws. And you can just tell that we was overexcited. I think in the second half, we kind of settled down to being the team that we think it was going to be. But it was a fun game to me. It was really fun, to be honest with you, because me sitting over there playing Alabama, then seeing all the Alabama fans and, all the red, and I was like, wow, it just felt funny. It just felt funny the whole night, playing against the team where I played college basketball, and I got a chance to see Bobby Lee hurt last night. That was a treat.
Great.
I looked over in the corner, I saw a guy with a hat on and a suit and gold chains, and I said, man, Bobby Lee hadn't changed in 40 years.
No, I'm glad you mentioned Bobby Lee. Yeah, that was a heck of a game we played against UCLA out there when when we won that thing, you know, he was good too. Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Lee's not going to sneak up on you. You can always recognize Bobby Lee, can't you, Mike? Always dressed up and got a big smile on his face.
Oh, he's unbelievable. He asked me, he said, did you see me? I said, I couldn't miss you.
Yeah.
Probably had on a big hat.
He had a big hat on, Coach, and he was so joyful and happy. And, you know, after all those years, he's still the same. It's been a happy person.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Talk about, you know, you guys Alabama's got a lot of new players. You guys got a lot of new players. You know, I think playing games like that, you know, we've seen exhibition games where you just destroy teams. So, you know, playing a team that maybe is good or better and is more athletic or the same as you guys, sometimes the offense takes a little bit of a back seat there. But it is a great teaching game for you guys, and trying to blend all those guys together just takes a little time, doesn't it, to get in rhythm, Mike?
It definitely takes time, especially when you know, I think in anything you have to be able to learn, but you have to have the ability to unlearn and the ability to relearn, because when you're coming from different programs, you know, you taught one thing, and then when you go somewhere else, and that philosophy and terminology and system is different. So right now, we're trying to unlearn to relearn the new system. Coach Hardaway is a fantastic basketball coach. You know, I tell people this all the time. He was an elite basketball player, and it's hard not to have an elite basketball mind if you're an elite basketball player. And this mind definitely matched the way he plays. And, you know, our guys, he's very demanding, and he loves the technique. He won't let anybody get away with not doing the technique the right way. And if our players just buy into, which is a challenge for a lot of teams across the country, if they just buy into and give him their full cooperation, then I think we'll be a really good basketball team and have a chance to make it deep in the NCAA tournament.
You know, and I'll let Dad jump in, but Alabama was out 4 guys last night, but LeBaron Phelan, the kid, I think he's from Mobile, went out to Missouri, signed with Kansas. Alabama got him late. Usually a game like that, especially as physical as you guys are, would kind of eat a freshman alive. This kid held his own. I was very impressed with how he played as a true freshman last night. Just your thoughts about what he did last night.
Well, their guard play is really good, and they want to shoot threes, and so the system is perfect for players who has a really good skill set, because you know, in basketball, when someone drives and gets to the paint, you know, you have to have a rotation overhelp. And with Alabama, you have to not overhelp because they're trying to find the shooters. And I thought that young man played really well, but most of them played well because they hit some shots. I think we cut it a little bit, and they hit some really big threes, because you can't overhelp and you can't be lazy on your switches against Alabama.
Yeah.
Memphis got a lot of fan base, don't they? They're really interested in basketball. I've got some friends there, and of course Darby Rich, who played for me, had worked there at one time. But they're really very into Memphis basketball, aren't they?
Always have been, even back when Keith Lee and Andre Turner and even Coach Hardaway. You know, they've had some outstanding basketball players, and this is the basketball city. It's the basketball city. Our football team right now is doing well, but they're a basketball city, and everywhere you go, I mean, with Coach Hardaway, we go out to lunch, people just talk about basketball, want to take pictures with him, and you know, I can remember coaching at UAB coming here. We never beat Memphis at Memphis, and they were just an unbelievable basketball team and city and school. Our facilities are second to none. You know, to be in, we're not a Power 5 school, but we have Power 5 facilities, and so it's a joy to be able to coach for a basketball school.
How difficult is it, Mike, now with NIL? You got different guys making different amount of money. I don't know if people know who's what, but there is always jealousy. Whenever money is involved, there's jealousy involved. How difficult is that to maneuver all that, manage the locker room based on what these guys are getting? All these coaches, especially at the bigger schools, are going through this. Is that a problem to deal with it?
It's tough to deal with because it's just how you approach everything. You know, I drove up in the parking lot and we have Mercedes-Benz and everything, which is fine. You know, I try to give them light lessons because, you know, the most important thing is knowing how to handle your money. That's the most important thing. But you probably, and some of them never going to make this kind of money again. And you don't want to do things that you wouldn't normally do with your money. But the most important thing is just having them to focus on why they're making that money. And they're making the money because they're student athletes, and you have to make sure you go and get your degree, but you also have to make sure that you show up for practice every day and focus. And it's tough. You can see the difference in the approach. And I can see why some coaches is wanting to say, you know, I spent so much time in this game. I love this game. And, you know, now I'm coaching a totally different athlete than it has ever been before. And it just takes so much out of you as a coach when you don't have the full cooperation from the players sometimes, because, you know, we got guys that live in $5,000 apartments a month. We have guys that, you know, don't want to eat the meals that we have prepared for them before and after the games. And that's okay. But, you know, when you're a part of a team, you have to be a part of a team. And, you know, and they just have access to things that, you know, only the professional players had in the past. And we know what would happen to the 80% of professional players, that they go broke, you know, 2 or 3 years after they play. But my biggest concern is just, you know, do we want to lose the standards and the culture that we have? You know, I know times are different, and I'm not upset or disappointed in the money that they're making. But, you know, you just have to have the same attitude and personality and character that you would have if you was in the real world making that kind of money. You know, and so it's tough on coaches. I mean, I can see a lot of coaches next year parting ways with coaching in college.
Yeah, that.
Well, that all that kind of stuff wouldn't have gone real well with me, would it, Mike?
Hey, Coach, you know, I always tell you this, and it's so honest. You know, when you have a coach that is demanding and he wants you to play hard, and, you know, if you're really serious about it, you'll run through a wall for him. And I tell our guys, hey, I won Hustle Award 4 years in a row out of about 4. So don't tell me nothing about a freshman can't play hard and a sophomore can't play hard. And don't tell me that you're from a small town and all that, because I'm from a small town. Don't get any smaller than Fayette, Alabama. And so, you know, but Coach Hardaway, you know, I tell our guys this, you know, here's a guy that he's demanding as well. But, you know, you have to come in every single day and give it your all. And I used to love our players when I played back at Alabama. Said, Mike, don't guard me today because I don't feel like going in hard today. And that's the when I really guarded even harder when I heard that statement.
Yeah, Mike, right. You know, I think people are trying to say now, well, you can't coach them hard because they'll transfer. It's so easy for them to transfer. But if that's the case, if a guy doesn't want to be coached, you ain't winning with him anyway, right? I mean, so you got to be who you are. You got to coach them hard, because I think players respect that. They want to win. They want to be worked in. And if a guy doesn't, then he probably needs to move on anyway, doesn't he?
Well, the really good players want to be coached hard, to be honest with you, because life is hard. I mean, life is hard. And if you're not coached hard, if you're not being pushed, and once you get into the real world, you're going to have so many things that happen to you in your life that if that's the first time that you ever felt that in your life, it's going to be hard for you to deal with it. And when we all go through certain things in our life, but like I said, the really, really good players, they want to be pushed hard.
Yeah. I know you.
Barry?
Yeah.
Mike lost his brother, was killed. When was that? Just the other day, wasn't it?
Yeah, last week on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to, some of our people who are listening to the show who know his family up there, how sorry we are about it. It was a terrible thing.
Yeah, it's my older brother, and he always comes to all our games.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
He always comes to, even as a coach, if we played close, he would drive my mom, and he would even come to the games now. I used to love to go and play somewhere close to Fayette because I knew they would be in the car driving. And I was looking so forward this year being in Memphis, it's the first time I've been home, close to home, since the UAB days, and they was all preparing to. He lost his son in August, and then he never really gotten over it. But looking forward to him coming to Memphis, and also I'm only 2.5 hours away now from Fed. But it was heartbreaking for the family. But like I said before, you always gonna go through things in life, and that's why it's so good to be in a situation where you push hard because you're able to handle certain things.
Barry, I recruited him so hard that his mother said to me, every time that she threw the wash water out the back door, she threw it in my face.
Really?
Did she, Mike?
She sure did. I mean, one day, Barry, I was in class and the door was open. I had my head down asleep because I used to go to sleep in class, so I probably shouldn't say that on the radio. But I looked out and Coach was standing outside the door. I was pretty embarrassed seeing Coach standing outside my class.
He was peeking in there on you?
Yeah.
I remember you playing here, I guess it was against maybe Tuscaloosa County. I don't know if it was Central. I think you got 44 in here that night. You probably got 44 a lot, so you probably don't remember that game.
I think it was Tuscaloosa High, because Coach Jones over at County High, he wouldn't let you get that many points.
No, that's right. He hold the ball. Well, Mike, it's always great to talk to you. Glad you're back on this side. We got you out of Detroit and got you back on this side of the country. Look forward to follow Memphis. I think you guys got some big, physical, athletic kids, so you're going to be hard to score on. Just got to stop fouling when you start making a few shots. You're right. If y'all had made free throws last night, the first half would have been close, but you didn't make them. But hopefully you guys will during the year, and I love you guys to have a great year there this year. Look forward to following you.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. I'll call in if you need me.
I love you, Coach. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, there's Mike Davis. Whew, that was a foul fest last night. But can you imagine? I ain't eating that meal. I don't want that meal.
They had Sonny had a Auburn buddy, if I can't think of his name, who worked in the drugstore up there, and he was the one recruiting Mike for helping Sonny get Mike. And somebody will call in and tell me from Faye if they're listening. And he was tough on us. I mean, he had Mike over there all the time, the cotton picking drugstore, eating and all that kind of stuff. It was touch and go for a long time with him.
Yeah. All right, let's tell them about Bryant Bank before we get to break.
Well, Bryant Bank, locations in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham throughout the state of Alabama, is a bank that you can trust. It's a bank that will do everything it possibly can do to help you with your personal and business accounts. They'll be safe. You won't have to worry about whether somebody comes in and tries to take one of them or not. They will be cooperative with you when you come in there to talk business with them. Their banker will be outstanding. The facility is outstanding, and the people are outstanding. So go by Bryant Bank. I wish you would and tell them that you heard it inside the locker room, and it'll help us, and I think it'll help you too. So Bryant Bank is an outstanding company. Hope you'll go by and visit with them and tell them you heard it on our show.
All right. I had a parent ask me this on one of our teams. What does the practice schedule look like for Thursday, Halloween? As I understand it, traffic is very bad in some of the surrounding neighborhoods. Wow, what a question. How do I answer that? We're going to practice on Halloween. When you're in high school, do you still trick or treat, Chase?
It depends on.
You ain't trick or treating in high school.
They got some good candy. You never know.
Hey,
I love candy.
Barry, tell them what happens when a trick or treat guy comes to my place.
If you go to his house, Chase, he's gonna look in your basket and he's gonna pull out something. You gonna lose candy at his house. He gets something out of there and he'll take it out. And,
about this? How about that?
And then they'll say, well, what about me? Oh, we're out of candy. So you lost. All right, we're going to take this break. Listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. I went looking for some trouble and not necessarily finding any. Slow goes? Yes, kind of, sort of. And so we do have McFarland on the westbound lanes at Airport Road. A little slow at the intersection. And then moving on McFarland at Lurleen Wallace, no slow.
TBC 1230 with Wyatt Fulton and Matt Coulter, presented by BMW of Tuscaloosa, Pearl River Resort and Casino, Tuscaloosa Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and walk-ons.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside.
564-9170. What do you have to lose? Call 800-564-9170. Again, 800-564-9170.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today with a warm afternoon, the high around 80. Fair tonight, the low 61. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 81. Very warm on Thursday, partially sunny. The chance of a shower Thursday night, the high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 62 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Stay up to date with the Crimson Tide. Local high school sports and Bama into pros right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker. I get right up to the Yellowwood Hotline. Get Tom back in. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, good morning. I was going to call back in. I wanted to say something. I thought Kevin had something I agreed with, and I wanted to bring it back up and talk about it. And it's the point that he made about Lane Kiffin. And I think that he was right. Do you really want Lane Kiffin as your head coach at Florida? Is he really that good?
I mean, no.
I think the problem that you have is this. I think Lane Kiffin is lazy in recruiting. He doesn't want to go into the homes of the high school kids' parents and visit with them and tell them why they ought to come to Ole Miss. He relies on the assistant coaches to go out to the transfer portal, and they get good players. And because of his crackiness, they're funny in some ways. But I think when it comes down to really recruiting and being organized recruiting, to where you're the head coach and here's the way we're going to recruit, here's what we're going to do, I don't think Ole Miss does that.
Yeah, that's those are some of the things I'm getting at. Here's another one for you to think about and see if I'm going down the right road based on sitting down. I am agreeing with Kevin. And can he win a big game? He had the game at LSU and he lost it. He's done that before. Now, when Georgia rolls in over there, not Arkansas, I ain't counting that. I'm calling Georgia a big game, home game. Everything's on the line. You win, you're in a good chance you make it to the playoffs. If he loses that game, what does that say about it?
All right, I'm going to flip it on you. Is he maximizing the Ole Miss job?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's winning.
I don't disagree with that. But now, there's a lot of difference between Ole Miss and Florida.
Isn't that what coaching is, though? Like, did James Franklin, he maximized the Vanderbilt job. Like, he won about as much as you could possibly win. And I would say if Lane Kiffin, they won double digits last year. He's only lost 2 games. And they're so much better than Mississippi State. And they're right there kind of in the mix. I would think he's getting as most out of the Ole Miss job as you could get.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree 100%. But let's look at it from the other side, Florida. They're expecting results equivalent to Coach Smart, Coach Saban, and big games. They're looking for you to win those games. Now, I agree with you. He's maximized at Ole Miss. But if you go to Florida, can you do it? Coach says he's a lazy recruiter, and I agree with that. You're going to have to work your tail off if you're going to be at the level they want you to be at.
Yeah, but is he better than what you? I mean, who are you going to get at Florida? That's why I would just.
Oh, hey, that is a huge question right there. Yeah. Coach, I got some help for you on Mike Davis.
Okay.
You remember the Newton twins that played at Fayette and went to Auburn, blocked the punt in Bama punt game?
Yeah, let me tell you about those turds. We had a great player named James Booth, and back then, before you were born, we played Auburn in Montgomery, and one of those guys, those twins, ran under James Booth and just about killed him on purpose. So that's what I think about him.
But I'm telling you, though, I think they probably, when you roll in there recruiting one of a player from Fayette, you got that kind of influence. And I think it was Bill's wife. Wasn't she on the board of trustees at Auburn?
I don't know. Probably.
I think so. But my whole point is they're very well connected at Auburn. But, one of them's a hero there.
Yeah.
We had a hard time. We had a difficult time getting Mike. And Mike,
that's an Auburn type.
Said, I love you, Coach. I'm surprised he to say that because I managed to fan him, but he's great.
No, he's always said good stuff about you. But Auburn, Fayette's an Auburn town.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And to go in there and get the Tucker boys like Alabama did, and Lance, and I can't think of the younger one's name, but the daddy, he was a big hero down at it was Livingston back then, and it's West Alabama now, and he played against Coach Bowden up there at Sanford. They were big buddies and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, the Newtons were probably the thorn in the side in recruiting Mike Davis.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully those kids will listen to Mike. He can help them.
He can.
These young guys that.
I think he can help Penny.
He can definitely help Penny. Penny's.
He ain't got it all together.
I won't say it, but I won't. Well, I will say it. I'm not 100% convinced that they're not going to get Penny for something, and Mike Davis will be the head coach before the season's over.
I tell you what, that would be it. Well, I mean, you can't take anything away from Penny as a player.
Yeah.
But I have never had 100% trust in him as a coach.
Yeah. So, thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
See y'all.
All right. Memphis, they went straight portal. Seems like, and they got some guys that. Anyway, it was a good test for Alabama. I think Mike said it best, and it'll help them practice. But trying to manage the NIL at Memphis, that sounds like a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, guys living in $5,000 apartments, and not wanting to eat pregame meals because, oh my gosh. Anyway, I give you a headache even thinking about it. All right, we got to get out of here and make way for the Gary Harris Show. Appreciate you, Chase. Appreciate Kevin Skarbinski. Mike Davis joined us. Great guest today. Pretty timely with Mike being with the Memphis game last night. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care, for a Wednesday edition of the program. We'll continue to talk about Alabama, Mizzou. We'll talk about what Alabama needs to get accomplished during bye week. We welcome your calls at 205-342-9904. That's Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. We'll also continue to break down the rest of the SEC in 2024. Those conversations and more right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. I went looking for some trouble and not necessarily finding any. Slow goes? Yes, kind of, sort of. And so we do have McFarland on the westbound lanes at Airport Road. A little slow at the intersection. And then moving on McFarland at Lurleen Wallace, no slow.
You call, you'll actually talk to me. 205-800-8000. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monty Bolaños.
The Dodgers will try to complete a sweep of the Yankees in Game 4 of the World Series later today, which starts at 8 Eastern from New York. They won Game 3 yesterday 4-2, where Freddie Freeman once again hit a 2-run homer in the first inning, his third home run of the series. No team in World Series history has rallied from down 3-0.
We're trying to get a game tomorrow. Okay? That's where our focus lies. So hopefully we can, go be this amazing story and shock the world. But right now it's about trying to get a lead, trying to grab a game and force another one and then on from there. But we got to grab one first.
That was the Yankees manager, Aaron Boone. In the NFL, Pittsburgh has improved to 6-2 after the Steelers beat the Giants 20